All right, guys, we got Jason Stone on the line today, head of sales for Frontline Selling. And Jason, I'm going to be honest, I'm a little bit confused. Obviously, not the smartest host you've ever had about what y'all do. So, if you could share with us a little bit about what Frontline Selling does and what you do, leading the sales charge there.
Sure. Well, I think we're in the same boat because I probably won't be the smartest guest you've ever had. So I think you and I will be just fine together. Yeah. So Frontline Selling is a company that really, it's all in the name. We are on the front line of everything we do for our clients. And really, I've always said that the hardest thing in the sales process is to start it. There's a lot of cadences, a lot of things that can happen in the sales process. There's stages, there's thresholds, there's all the things that drive activity beyond the first conversation. And really, the biggest thing that we do is start the sales process. And that's by delivering to our clients the first meaningful conversation, what we call a meaningful interaction. And that is a meaningful conversation with a meaningful person at a meaningful time inside of a targeted account.
And are you guys bringing in the reps for them, or are the reps already on the team and you guys are, kind of coaching, training, putting in the right, software? Kind of walk me through that process a little bit.
No, great question. So like if you think of it as how do we let our reps, right, our sellers sell? How do we get them focused on revenue generating activities? And the rest of it is frontline. So we have our own team of folks that call on behalf of our clients, and we drive those first conversations to their sales team. So think of it as I set up, it's a 20 to 30 minute calendared conversation with a key player pre-identified from our clients and inside a target account with one of their subject matter experts, AKA a sales rep. And we schedule that. We have access to their calendar. We kick the call off, and then they run the call from there. And that starts the sales process. So you think about it, and you know this probably better than most people. How hard is it to get people to schedule 20 to 30 minutes with you?
So yeah, as a recruiter, right? It's never been difficult.
Well,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, facetious for sure. It's very difficult. Let me ask you: is it white labeled? Like, do you have the reps that are on your team, like, kind of change their LinkedIn, and do they get like a company email or a company, number within the directory, or kind of how does that work?
Yeah, so we don't change LinkedIn, but we do represent the company as that company. Nobody knows who Frontline Selling is.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, what we've discovered is that people that are interested in someone who is delivering information and garnering 20 to 30 minutes of somebody's time, nobody's going in and checking LinkedIn. That's what we've found. But we do represent the company as the company we're calling on behalf of. We do procure email addresses that represent that company as well. So essentially, no one gets to see behind the curtain and know that it's the wizard of Frontline Selling. We represent all of our clients as themselves.
Yeah, very interesting. So you guys, is it always the case that you're taking your team and putting it on, or are you also kind of going in and coaching their existing team as well?
Yeah, so it's twofold. And I would say I'd be vague, but I'm not going to be vague because you and I have talked. I like to explain things. So
yeah.
So I would say, so what we do in the front side is we work on behalf of their team solely, and we hand that off. And this really works best when you get an organization that has either tried to build it internally previously and knows that it fails 66% of the time, or they've tried another outsourced solution and know that it's not, they're not delivering quality conversations. From there, we are solely just a funnel builder. Now, we can train their team on how best to execute that first conversation. And you and I have talked, previously, especially when you're looking at hiring folks and talent and skill, and some folks, they tend to lean towards a particular conversational style, whether it's tell me or why did you or this, this, that, or the other. And we try to train against that. When you have 20 to 30 minutes with somebody, it's a really finite period of time to be able to understand their challenges, diagnose what their issues are, understand if you can help them, and build sort of a value behind the scenes. So there are particular best practices that we can train sales teams on.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of that is, this is one of the reasons I'm really excited about where we're headed. We've been a managed services group for a very, very long time, meaning, you hire us and we do the dirty work. Uh, much like legal or accounting or even recruitment, right? Outsourced most definitely at some point is going to come internal,
Yeah, you're
right?
going to bring it in house. Yeah.
Right. We believe that. And we have to believe that. And companies have to have that linear thought process that everything comes in house at some point. So we've been able to use our interface and front facing deliver our software so that a team that says, look, we're never going to outsource, but we want you to train our people. It doesn't help to train them if they don't have the technology behind it that drives our process. So
Mm.
now we've been able to, we've built that out. It's again, version 2 now. And we're forward facing that to the market. So I'm really excited about that because now we're able to help the entire market, whether they want to outsource it or build it internally. It doesn't matter. And whether they have a team or want to have a team, it doesn't matter because we can augment their efforts on the front end while they build the right team. All right. And then we can train their team. What I've seen a lot happen is that, people are like, well, we can hire BDRs or SDRs and we can build that team. And most of the time people are like, yeah, but they're also under the assumption that they're 6'2", blonde hair, blue eyes, and throw the ball like Tom Brady. But what happens is you get them inside a group and it ends up looking like the bar scene from Star Wars. There's nobody of the same background or mindset or history, right? And they end up not being able to all function the same. But when you give folks a roadmap to be able to perform at the same level as your peer, it's a phenomenal. First of all, it's a phenomenal thing to watch, but it's also a phenomenal experience to build these folks that then have a competitive background that want to run and try to beat the next person, but they're all playing on the same field. So it's the effort they put in. Right? It's not luck. It's all scalable. It's all predictable. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited about that.
this is interesting. So you guys can come in, do the outsource, like, hey, we're very good at getting traction on the front end, and then slowly break apart the process and help them get it in house with the right software tools. And are those tools? Is that something you guys have already been trying, or you've got a version and it's ready to go, and you guys are going to start selling that as well?
Yeah, we've rolled it out. So we've
Okay.
been at it for about a year and a half now. Um, and we've placed a few folks on it. We do it ourselves. So,
Yep.
like I said before, I run sales and marketing for us, and we utilize our team to generate leads for us. So we were the first people to do it. We were the pioneers of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
To say, look, we're going to get this in a format and a user interface that can be presented to other folks.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've perfected it. What we believe, it's always going to be changes. We know that, right? The,
Yep.
the one thing that's constant is change. So we do know there's going to be version at some point will be version 755 somewhere down
Yeah.
the road, and that's in honor of the Hank Aaron. So
Oh,
R.I.P.
awesome.
Yeah, but we do know that there's going to be versions. We know that there will be something out there that will always make us better. And if we're not open to that, then we're going to be much like a lot of folks that have demised over time. But yeah, we can help ramp fully and then start to back off as folks hire. So we balance people, process, and technology to control velocity on what they want us to do versus what they want their
Mm,
team to do.
yeah.
So
What I like about this is how authentic it is. Like, you guys practice what you preach. You're doing it, and this is what you use. So
yeah.
it'll be pretty easy to sell that, saying this is what we do. I mean, all our, we live, eat, and breathe initial sales conversations. That is what we do. This is our process. This is how we currently are successful. We practice what we preach. When we bring that over to you, this isn't something that we used to do 2 years ago. Like, this is what we're doing this today too.
Yeah.
And I like how authentic that is. And I think that's really going to land. And then you've been head of sales there for a while. Is the team growing? I know you and I kind of talked about it. You guys are going to be looking to add some team members, I think, in 2021. So what does that kind of look like? What's the sales org for you guys look like right now, and kind of what's your plan for it?
Yeah, so we've shifted a little bit of our internal group. I mean, the group has grown. from when I first came on board, but and some of it has been, uh, you know, I'll call it displacement of position. So we had sales folks that weren't really selling; they were just managing.
Hmm.
And so we've turned that into a group that's managing renewals and add-ons, and and that's a good thing.
Hmm.
Now we've got where we're forward facing is looking at net new, and then the really sweet spot for us now, as you might imagine from what I've described, is software. How do we get into folks that need a predictable, easy way to generate first conversations, right? And take away all of the AI driven, all the turbo dialing, all of that stuff. This is human to human interaction, how humans react to other humans. It's a roadmap for success. And you know this probably better than anybody. The BDR SDR role is one that has a tremendous amount of centrifugal force in and out, right?
It's so hard. I
Yeah,
maintain, and this is for all you guys out there listening that are SDR, BDR. You have the hardest job in business. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult role. Um, and I don't know if I give a person maybe 2 years, you know, 2 to 2.5 before they're gonna need to move out of that into something else because it's a hard role. I have a lot of respect for it. When I talk to these young guys and young gals that are starting off and they're getting into it, I mean, we've been there. We've done it. Like we understand how difficult
yeah,
it is. And for them, I'm like, just you're doing the right thing. Like stick with it, grind it out. It only gets easier from here as you like earn your chops. Yeah. So that's interesting. Is that for your team? You move some over to the account management, which makes perfect sense. You can have people, very focused. And then are you guys doing an SDR or BDR type role, or do you kind of do more of an AE where it's a blend of kind of incoming with a blend of outbound, or what's y'all set up?
yeah. So if you think about it, we're always looking for folks on the development side because that's what we do for our clients.
Yep.
So we're always looking for that group, and what we've been able to do is build a career path from, that demand creation role to
Hmm.
running into a sales role, and then to, whether you split off to existing business account management, which is still under sales, or you go into net new logo. um, we're always looking for that role. Specifically for me, I'm looking for someone, I will be looking for someone who's wants to be, net new logo, a hunter, to go out there and get it, um, bring in new business, and the software side of things. The the distinction I have to make between, a team like ours and a traditional sales team is we have to have a belief and stand by that belief. And my belief and Frontline's belief is that hybrid roles do not work,
Mm,
and they're because they're inefficient. You can't have someone, they cannot fish and bait the hook at the same time, right? So it's not functional. So I don't want my folks prospecting 50% of the time, the other 50% of the time they're selling, because you can't do both at the same time. Most likely you can't do both of them very well. So I try to get us to about an 80-20 split. 80% of the time, our demand creation folks are working on behalf of our team. So when I say we do what we do, we experience it, we do it. I
mhm,
feed them a target account list. We have bi-weekly connect calls with them. We walk through the responses. We walk through our opportunity pipeline, where we're getting response, where we're seeing the most lift, and we hone in those skills.
mhm,
So, which is what we do with every other client. And so my group then is left to, at that point, try the other 20% of, I'll call it prospecting for lack of a better word, on their behalf, should be connecting on LinkedIn, finding like-minded folks, understanding where past clients have gone, where folks that, and expanding, kind of metastasizing into their network from there. I don't want, they're not cold calling. They can't do it effectively in the short period of time that I want them to do it. What I think the big misnomer in prospecting is that you can make 100 phone calls a day and be a productive, member of the sales team, and you can't, because you're just making phone calls. You're not having quality touch points. Most likely you make 100 phone calls, your message, because that's probably what you're going to leave 90% of the time, is different 90% of the time. So there's no triangulation between your effort and what's failing and what's working. And that's what we solve, because we look at going to market as the three M's. You got your market, you got your messenger, and you got your message. Unless you control one of or two of those three variables, you're never going to know what's working. So we control the market, which is delivered to us by our clients. We control the messenger, which is our folks that reach out. But then the variable being the message, and we know how to tweak and build a message that translates into prospecting activity. So yeah, I'm looking for someone who, hopefully it gives you a little bit of a landscape on. I want someone who wants to hunt, wants to go out and get new business, whether it's delivered to them, or the 20% of the time they're digging for gold. And I think that's where our sweet spot is, because
Yeah.
I need sellers. I need folks and we all do. We all want our sellers performing selling activities,
Hmm.
right? It wouldn't, you doesn't make any sense otherwise.
So for your team, a good fit, and then I want you kind of help me hone it down, would be a full sales cycle, and someone that has experience in the SaaS market, having done beginning all the way through to close. Would you say that's pretty correct?
Yeah, I would say it's 100% accurate. But I want someone that appreciates the close more than anything else, because it's going to be different. Because you're going to, in this role, in this environment, it's going to be, I need you to take it from first conversation to close.
Yep.
Don't worry about the first conversation.
Yep.
I'm terrible at it. I would get on the phone and create first conversations. I mean, I'm terrible at creating first conversations. I couldn't do what these folks do on our behalf. I could not do it. Just like you said, my hat's off to them. It is a heroic role that is
Hmm.
often underplayed and undervalued.
Yep.
Um, and that's why it fails a lot of times, because people just aren't prepared to do it. And then people that are responsible for generating it believe that technology and volume is going to solve it. And that's not what solves it.
Yeah.
So I want someone who relishes in the win. I want someone who really um, basks in that, saying, I want to take this call and I'm going to take it across the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And then on the demand gen side, would you guys say that's pretty equivalent to kind of an SDR role, where it's pretty consistent outreach?
Yeah, I think you look at somebody who is a competitive, consistent outreach. You want somebody who wants to succeed in the role. The reason, as you stated, that role doesn't last very long is because it's hard to bang your head against the wall, and
It's hard.
right, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really hard. And then to stay sane. But when you give somebody a roadmap for success and watch them blossom. I mean, listen, 5 years ago that we would have never taken somebody from that role and moved them into sales, and we have, because these people then they felt they felt accomplished, they felt controlled, they felt success, and they wanted to go do something more. Now that said, we've had people that have been doing this role for 9 years. You don't ever hear of that, 9 years in the development space, but they control their environment. They enjoy what they do. They enjoy helping their customers, and they have a blast doing it. So, I mean, that on that side of things, I think you want somebody that says, I want to enjoy what I do. I want to have a
Mm.
really good time. I feel good behind the phone, not front facing. Everybody can't have that role.
Yeah.
But you also want to be with a group of people that love competitiveness and want to drive to the, top of what they're doing. I think it's a 9 to 5, right? Sales isn't like that. It's two different roles.
Yeah. That's interesting. And then you've been head of sales over there for what, 4 years, and then I think you were in VP of revenue growth before that. So tell me a little bit about kind of your journey. People that are listening, that are interested in Frontline, interested in what we're talking about. They'd be working underneath you, right?
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about kind of Jason and what his journey's been, and how it's been over there at Frontline.
Yeah. So the journey here has been exactly as expected. My journey to get in sales was not. I sort of started backwards. I went, operate customer service, operations, billing, and then went into marketing and then sales.
Okay, all the other
Right.
steps
Yeah. Which I think has benefited me because I've got the view of a lot of different angles, and I don't ever, it's never in a vacuum, and it's never pointing fingers in one direction or the other. It's always how do we work together, and I think that was the biggest thing that helped me get through the early years. But coming to Frontline was probably the most exciting move that I've made in recent years for me, because this has solved an age old problem for me.
Hmm.
I've been responsible for, I've been responsible of, I've been responsible for executing, and it's hard to sit there and go, the leads are terrible. This is terrible. This is not lining up, and it's a difficult thing because you want everyone in the organization to succeed, but um, and not have you on the firing line, so to speak. But if I would have had this in my past, I would tell you that I would have been more successful than I was, and in a very very positive format. Not that I was ultra successful and blew every number out of the water. I never did. I mean,
Yeah.
I did great things. I thought I did a really nice job of building folks up. We hit some numbers. I'm not the guy that says I was 1,000% to goal for my entire career. I was never that guy. But we built really strong teams, really cohesive teams, and been able to do that here. I think the progression of what we've seen is that we've we've we're bringing back authenticity and humanization to the sales process. One of the reasons sales is so damn hard is because we we always put a formulaic equation to the success of an organization, and whether that be in the BDR world or whether that be in sales. And what I mean is, you got to make 100 phone calls a day. Well, that's not the litmus test for success. Or I've got 10 reps and I'm at $20 million, so everybody can do $10 million or $2 million. That's not true, because not all reps are created equal. Not all regions are created equal. Not all target accounts are created equal. And so to get to $40 million, I got to hire, 10 more reps. That's not an equation for success. That's an equation for turnover. That's an equation for people looking behind their back. That's an equation for, a lot of things that don't add up to success. And I've been very fortunate to be able to kind of drive that behavior here. Is we're going to build this the right way. We're going to understand it and and build it from the bottom up. So I've got a lot of, we've got a lot of good folks that work for us and work on our clients' behalf. And I've been fortunate enough to be at the kind of the cornerstone of taking this thing from a founder ran company to a company that is, that's driving to strive higher things. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell in our conversations leading up to, to this one, I can tell it's really engaging for you, like you're right in that sweet spot. And then another theme I just kind of want to point out in listening to you is, you know, linear, like guys especially, and then, especially I'm just going to bring this up in SaaS too, tend to be very linear. You know, it's a messy process. Like it's rarely linear. It rarely just shoots in a straight line. You do this, and then it's like there's all these things, and
Yeah.
if people would do what you're doing of sitting down and thinking what's really landing, what's really the purpose of this, what's really the intent of this, how do you really develop a relationship here? And then you wouldn't have people just saying, well, 10 reps equals this, or 20 equals this. It's like that's very linear thinking, and that's not how reality is at all. Like linear, I mean, I guess you could argue with me about metaphysics, right? But generally speaking, linear isn't something that occurs. It's usually like kind of like a messy looping growth process.
Okay.
And it's just one of the shortcomings that I see in myself too. You know what I mean? I'll get very linear, like this amount of calls and then this amount of emails. And I'm like, now I'm focused
Yeah.
on my activity metrics. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. And also, there are some conversations that are just more meaningful, that just create much more. And it's like, well, if I would just focus on those and identify those instead of getting so linear. Yeah, it's just interesting to hear you say that, Jason. Not a lot of people notice that.
Well, listen. I mean, I don't think that I'm a.
Battle tested.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it could be that for sure. But here's what I believe. It's we can't, as human beings, we can't focus on 40 opportunities. So for me to believe that my folks have 40 opportunities each in a pipeline for a quarter is just unrealistic.
Yeah.
And to think that we have identified 40 opportunities each as well that have the um, gumption and the urgency to get this done is also, it's just wishful
Mm-hmm.
thinking.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of things I've always said, and I think one is the absence of no does not mean yes. So just because you don't hear no doesn't mean that it's a deal. So use your time wisely. Use your keys and listen to the red flags and listen to all the
Mm-hmm.
things to be able to participate, but also anticipate where these things are going. You want to participate and you want to be active in the call. You don't want to be aloof, but you also want to be able to anticipate correctly. Because for me, I've never ever strung a rep out for qualified outs or closed loss business. And to a degree. Now, if you get something to commit or verbal in a closed loss, there's a conversation that will happen. But the other piece of that is that you look at the difference between really good reps and just good reps. I shouldn't say bad reps, but good reps is really good reps. They believe they're losing the deal until they win it. Good
Mm-hmm.
reps think they're winning the deal until they lose it. And so the idea is, how do we always anticipate those roadblocks? How do we anticipate the pitfalls? How do we lose? And if we start asking ourselves those questions, then we start winning more often. But again, you can't do it when you're like this. You cannot do it when you've got 40 opportunities, 30 opportunities in your pipeline. You can't do it when you also have prospecting on your plate. You can't do it when you also have administrative things you have to do. You can't do it also when you're brought into billing questions and all this things. Those are the things that keep us as salespeople from expanding.
Yeah.
It
And
keeps
from
us
being
from
successful.
right.
Yeah.
Keeps us from moving faster, and more directly towards closing. We're
It's
always
this is
fetching rocks.
this is so funny because it it just lands. I'll the fact that I think we're kind of playing a game with ourselves when we have these numbers and we have these metrics. And I mean, you've seen it in a sales org where people are just making calls just to make calls. It's like, guys, now we're not on track for what we really need. And even in the recruiting space, I'll talk to other recruiters and they'll be like, I've got 7 roles or I've got 10, and I'm like, you're kidding yourself. Like, you're not gonna know. Like, pick a handful and like really focus on that and like really make it happen. Like, I think people get caught up in the numbers. I think that's just another really great point that you shared. And I know we're closing up here on time. Jason, I think what you guys are building is awesome. I love it. People that want to learn more, potentially, get in touch with you about the demand generation role, and then the net new logo role that you're probably going to be adding here. What's the easiest or best way? Do you guys have a careers page, or where should we direct them?
Yeah, so there is a careers page that's updated on a regular basis, frontlineselling.com. But as you have witnessed, I'm an open book. So feel free to email me at jstone@frontlineselling.com, or look me up on LinkedIn, ask to connect with me. Send me, at least give me a message. Don't say just would love to connect, because I'll probably ignore it. But yeah, just reach out to me. And listen, it doesn't have to be for Frontline. It can be for anything. I love it. This is the heart and soul of what I do. And if I can do one person at a time, bring back a really good feel for sales, because I feel like it's still a noble profession. And
Yeah.
we haven't done it justice because we've added that formulaic equation. We've diluted our own pond. I feel strongly about what we do, and when you add value to another organization. And so I'm happy to take, emails or text messages or whatever, if anybody wants to chat. But those are the 2 best ways to look at what we do. Certainly LinkedIn. Follow us on LinkedIn. That's what we post all of our openings on there as well. But yeah,
Perfect.
I'm
Yeah,
happy to have
Jason,
a
I love it. I can tell how authentic you are about really making this profession. And I think you're right. Like, with the automation and all the other tools, like, getting back to the basics and the heart and the soul of it is really important. For you guys listening, I'm gonna drop a link below the video to the careers page for Frontline Selling, as well as drop a link to their LinkedIn page. So, Jason, thank you so much for making time, man. And we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah, Todd, thank you so much. I look forward to it. I appreciate it.
For sure, brother.